Sid, so we knew that Lionel Messi made a large amount of money. And then El Mundo in Spain on late Saturday night helpfully decided to go and publish a copy of his contract, revealing that he's set to make up to 550 odd million euros, which sounds like an enormous contract, over 4 years. Ton of intrigue around it. Help us understand a little bit. I think we can all work it out, but please spell it out for us. In whose interest is it to have all the details of Messi's contract out there, when in fact, it's not that much more than we thought he made, is it?
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. So El Mundo announced that they had embargoed their front page until midnight. For those who don't know, and I'm sure that some of our listeners and viewers won't know, when you embargo something, it's basically designed to make sure that the other papers don't get it off you from your first edition and get it in their second, third, or fourth edition. So you wait as a way of making sure that the exclusive is only yours and that no one else can pick up on it. And what that is, of course, is a reflection of the idea that this is an absolutely huge story. Now, when we'd seen that the front page was embargoed, now we all knew it was to do with Messi. We all knew it was a Barcelona-related story. To be honest, having had that build-up, I mean, it's a bit like the Uma Thurman joke in Pulp Fiction. It gets built up too much. In the end, it can't possibly hit that level. Because you're right. I must confess, in a way, I saw it and thought, well, that's not massively different from what we all thought. We've been talking in broad, very round terms of a contract worth around about 100 million euros a year to Messi. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been talking about this. That's more or less where these figures lie. If you add in all the bonuses, as you say, over a 4-year deal, it could be upwards of 555 million euros, although he won't quite reach that figure, I don't think, because some of it is bonus related. And in that sense, having had the build-up, I thought, well, this is not so huge. Although, of course, without the build-up, it still is very, very striking, first of all, that anyone gets hold of a contract, that you actually see a contract. Unless there's some sort of dispute between players and a club and it ends up in a court of law and therefore becomes a public document, you just don't see contracts in this detail. So that, as you rightly say, brings us to questions, okay, who gains by this? Well, apart from, obviously, El Mundo, who get a very, very big story. You look at this contract and you think about the way that this comes out, where it can be filtered from, who has access to it, and who gains from it. And I think one of the ways of thinking about this is to look at not just the story itself, i.e. the contract, but the focus of the story, the way that El Mundo presented it, which I suspect is presented in the way that it was handed over to them. And let's look at the headline. The headline basically is the contract that destroys Barcelona. In other words, what's the takeaway from this story? Now, whether you agree or not is another issue, and I'm sure we'll get to that. The takeaway from this story in terms of that is Messi has destroyed Barcelona. Messi is the reason for Barcelona's financial crisis. In whose interest is that? Well, it's in the interest of the people who have truly destroyed Barcelona.
Well, so let's just break this down, and we are in the realm of speculation here. Barcelona have already come out, and they've threatened legal action. The implication, the obvious thing, that the person who's interested would be for this to come out, where people associated with the Bartomeu administration, who perhaps were there before. Yes. That would be the knee-jerk reaction. Yeah. One thing that struck me, Sid, is I saw a lot of reporting that there were only 4 copies of the contract in existence, and Messi has one, his lawyer has one, the Spanish League or FA have one, and Barcelona have one. So it had to be one of those 4.
Well, there's no photocopies. You
That's
can't
what I don't
photocopy
understand.
anything in Spain.
I can take my phone and photograph anything I want, right? I mean, this part's really silly, right?
You're right. It's a complete nonsense. Even at Barcelona, the club who a few years ago said they were in such financial crisis they weren't going to do photocopies anymore. Although actually, to be fair, that was colour photocopy, so they could have done it in black and white. Yeah. You're right. I mean, that's a nonsense, and it's particularly a nonsense in this digital age. It may well be that there are physically and officially only 4 contracts, 4 versions of it, that are actually kept. But that will have been sent around. That has to be. It won't only have. I imagine anyway. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I can't see how there's a scenario in which it's impossible that there are more contracts. I mean, put it this way, El Mundo have just published it. So now there's a 5th.
Yeah, no,
tells you how easy it is. It tells you how easy it is to do. And as you say, look, I think most of us assume that it's someone related to the previous board. I must admit, I think the other possible suggestion is that it could be the interim board now, which not so much justify what went before as justify what might be about to happen next.
Right. Yeah.
That said, as you rightly pointed out, Barcelona have said they will take legal action, have said it has not come from them. Now, that's not to say that they're...
How could they possibly know?
The truth, but if they're going to take legal action, you would like to think it would be.
But Sid, how can they possibly know?
Well, that's a very good point.
Find out.
Also, that's another thing. And I think this is one of the things that we have to remember. Football clubs are big institutions with a lot of people working for them. There's a lot of points at which a leak can happen. You know, imagine this as a pipe.
Yeah.
And there's loads of little holes all the way along the pipe. It could filter out at any number of points. But I think the way that this is, not just the fact that it's come out, but the way this has been presented. And a colleague of mine sent me a message, and I think he was quite right, and particularly you look at the front page of El Mundo. He said the only thing missing here are the devil's horns on Messi's head on the picture because of the way that it was focused. And I think while this is interpretive, I think you do have to look at the way it's presented as well as the actual basics of presenting the contract itself, which, by the way, of course, look, those figures are absolutely enormous. And there are some elements of those figures which are really startling. For example, the signing on fee, which is effectively worth 115 million euros. The loyalty bonus
was
as well.
Favorite of mine.
Yeah, the loyalty bonus, which basically means you can leave and still get it.
Sid, we're going to get into this much more in our podcast, the Gab and Juls show. I do want to mention or remind everybody that Messi gave his response on the pitch, scored a free kick. Barcelona went on to beat Athletic Bilbao, who of course had beaten them earlier in the Spanish Super Cup. That is something. That is not nothing. We'll get into that as well with you in the podcast segment. And let's mention it. Barcelona are second in the table.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.